What's up, chat? What's up, chat? Welcome back to another daily 1 year Bible read on the channel. You feel me? Today is day 219 in a row of our 1 year Bible read, and we're going to be reading from 8/7/2025. Why 8/7 instead of 8/5? Because we're 2 days early. Let me get to this page. What a page flip. So chat, today's word is coming from Ezra 4:24 through 6, going through verse 22. And then 1 Corinthians 3:5 through 23. And then Psalms 29, 1 through 11. And we're going to wrap up a nice read with Proverbs 20:26 through 27. Before we get started in our read, though, we have something from Psalms 29:11, and it goes like this: The Lord gives his people strength, the Lord blesses them with peace. How you doing, Alicia? Welcome to the chat. We're doing our daily 1 year Bible read here. We're on day 219 in a row. And we're about to get started with today's read, starting with Ezra 4:24 through 6. So the work on the temple of God in Jerusalem had stopped, and it remained at a standstill until the second year of the reign of King Darius of Persia. At that time, the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, son of Iddo, prophesied to the Jews in Judah and Jerusalem. They prophesied in the name of the God of Israel, who was over them. Zerubbabel, son of Shealtiel, and Joshua, son of Jozadak, responded by started again to rebuild the temple of God in Jerusalem. And the prophets of God were with them and helped them. But Tattenai, governor of the province west of the Euphrates River, and Shethar-bozenai and their colleagues soon arrived in Jerusalem and asked, "Who gave you permission to rebuild this temple and to restore this structure?" They also asked for the names of all the men working on the temple. But because their God was watching over them, the leaders of the Jews were not prevented from building until a report was sent to Darius and he returned his decision. This is a copy of the letter that Tattenai, the governor, Shethar-bozenai, and the other officials of the province west of the Euphrates River sent to King Darius. Hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. To King Darius, greetings. The king should know that we went to the construction site of the temple of the great God in the province of Judah. It is being rebuilt with specially prepared stones, and timber has been laid in its walls. The work is going forward with great energy and success, and we ask the leaders who gave permission to rebuild this temple and restore the structure. And we demanded their names so that we could tell you who the leaders were. This was their answer: "We are the servants of the God of heaven and earth, and we are rebuilding the temple that was built here many years ago by a great king of Israel. But because your ancestors angered the God of heaven, he abandoned them to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, who destroyed this temple and exiled the people to Babylonia. However, King Cyrus of Babylon, during his first year of his reign, issued a decree that the temple of God should be rebuilt. King Cyrus returned the gold and silver cups that Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple of God in Jerusalem and had placed it in the temple of Babylon. These cups were taken from that temple and presented to a man named Shabazar, whom King Cyrus appointed as governor of Judah. The king instructed him to return the cups to their place in Jerusalem and to rebuild the temple of God there on its original site. So Shabazar came and laid the foundations of the temple of God in Jerusalem. The people have been working on it ever since, though it is not yet completed. Therefore, if it pleases the king, we request that a search be made in the royal archives of Babylon to discover whether King Cyrus ever issued a decree to rebuild God's temple in Jerusalem, and then let the king send us his decision in this matter." So King Darius issued orders that a search be made in Babylonian archives, which were stored in the treasury. But it was at the fortress of Ecbatana in the province of Media that a scroll was found, and this is what it said. Memorandum: In the first year of King Cyrus's reign, a decree was sent out concerning the temple of God at Jerusalem. Let the temple be rebuilt on the site where the Jews used to offer their sacrifices. Using the original foundations, its height will be 90 feet, and its width will be 90 feet. Every 3 layers of specially prepared stones will be topped by a layer of timber. All expenses will be paid for by the royal treasury. Furthermore, the gold and silver cups, which were taken to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar from the temple of God in Jerusalem, must be returned to Jerusalem and put back where they belong. Let them be taken back to the temple of God. And I will shout out my names. Hey, welcome to the chat, Tanya. Hey, I'm sorry. I was caught up in the read. Welcome to the chat, Tanya. Nice to meet you. So King Darius sent this message. Is this your first time ever in the stream? Let me skip this ad real quick. It's your first time in the chat. It's nice to meet you if it's your first time. I feel like I've seen your name before, but maybe not chatting as much, maybe here and there. But nice to meet you. I'm doing pretty good. I've had my day started off kind of interesting, but it's gotten better as the day has gone. How about yourself? But I'm gonna continue reading, all right? So King Darius sent this message. Now therefore, Tatanai, governor of the province west of the Euphrates River, and Shethar Bozenai and your colleagues and other officials west of the Euphrates River, stay away from there. Do not disturb the construction of the temple of God. Let it be rebuilt on its original site, and do not hinder the governor of Judah and the elders of the Jews in their work. Moreover, I hereby decree that you are to help these elders of the Jews as they rebuild this temple of God. You must pay the full construction costs without delay from my taxes collected in the province of west of the Euphrates River, so that the work will not be interrupted. Give the priests in Jerusalem whatever is needed in the way of young bulls, rams, and male lambs for the burnt offerings, presented to the God of heaven. And without fail, provide them with as much wheat, salt, wine, and olive oil as they need each day. Then they will be able to offer acceptable sacrifices to the God of heaven and pray for the welfare of the king and his sons. Those who violate this decree in any way will have the beam pulled from their house. Then it will be lifted up and impaled on it, and their house will be reduced to a pile of rubble. May the God who has chosen the city of Jerusalem as the place of honor, his name, destroy any king or nation that violates his command and destroys his temple. I, Darius, have issued this decree, and let it be obeyed with all diligence. I'm reading from the Bible. Hey, I appreciate you. I'm reading from the 1 year Bible. It's a Bible that's made to be able to be read in 1 year, so 365 days. And today we're on day 219. Currently we're reading from Ezra 4:24 through 6. Now Tatanai, governor of the province west of the Euphrates River, and Shethar Bozenai and their colleagues compiled at once with the command of King Darius. So the Jewish elders continued their work, and they were greatly encouraged by the preaching of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, son of Iddo. The temple was finally finished as it had been commanded by the God of Israel and decreed by Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, the kings of Persia. The temple was completed on March the 12th, during the 6th year of King Darius' reign. The temple of God was then dedicated with great joy by the people of Israel, the priests, the Levites, and the rest of the people who had returned from exile during the dedication ceremony for the temple of God. 100 young bulls, 200 rams, and 400 males. Alfie? Thank you. This is my little collection of things. My little collection of things I've collected over the years. Sorry, my dog's barked right then. I'm pausing to see what's going on. Those are my books. It's my things from my childhood, you know, and then some things from my older life, from my anime life that I've gone into recently. And then I got my art behind me on the wall. The temple of God was then dedicated with great joy. Okay, we just read this. And 12 male goats were presented as a sin offering for the 12 tribes of Israel. Then the priests and Levites were divided into their various divisions to serve in the temple of God in Jerusalem, as prescribed in the book of Moses. On April 21st, the returned exiles celebrated Passover. The priests and Levites had purified themselves and were ceremonially clean, so they slaughtered the Passover lamb for all the returned exiles, for their fellow priests and for themselves. The Passover meal was eaten by the people of Israel who had returned from exile, and by the others in the land who had turned from the corrupt practices to worship the Lord. The God of Israel then celebrated the festival, and then they celebrated the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days. There was great joy throughout the land because the Lord had caused the king of Assyria to be favorable to them. so that he helped them to rebuild the temple of God, the God of Israel. Wow, I didn't know that I had a lot of things. I'm confused by that. Well, you know, okay, so the middle shelf Pokemon, right? The shelf right below Pokemon is like miscellaneous books, right? My Gears of War, right? Um, some basketball. Right below that is my anime pops. Some of my favorite anime pops. You feel me? Um, to the left, far right is my Yu-Gi-Oh, my very small Yu-Gi-Oh collection. Not gonna lie. Um, then my decoration from when I was in the military, and then we got my other books over there, more books over there, and then some computer wires, some IT equipment, and some miscellaneous little collectibles. Over here we got my Harry Potter chest with all the whole complete series. And while I'm here, why am I reading this book and why I'm here? I'm reading this book because I want to read the book for myself. It was a gift that I got for Christmas last year, and I wanted to share, right? I felt the need to share and read, right? So that's what I did. I felt it, so I did it. um, and I just enjoy it. I enjoy doing it every single day. Every single day, it makes me feel just that much better, you know. Um, but over here, we got the Harry Potter at the top. You know, I read the entire series when I was a kid. Got my Dragon Ball below that, and then One Piece, and a little bit of Pokemon on the very bottom. But now let's get back to the read. Now 1 Corinthians 3:5 through 23. After all, who is
Imagine
Apollos?
being able to build an app with your name on it.
Come on,
Just
bud.
by thinking
There's a lot
about
of
it.
ads in
Meet
this.
Base 40.
I wanted to use these in the future, but there are a lot of ads in this video. Now 1 Corinthians 3:5 through 23. After all, who is Apollos? Who is Paul? We are only God's servants, through whom you believe the good news. Each of us did the work the Lord gave us. I planted the seed in your hearts, and Apollos watered it. But it was God who made it grow. It is not important who does the planting, who does the watering. What is important that God, makes the seed grow. The one who plants and the one who waters work together with the same purpose, and both will be rewarded for their own hard work. For we're both God's workers, and you're God's field. You're God's building. Because of God's grace to me, I have laid a foundation like an expert builder. Now others are building on it. But whoever is building on this foundation must be very careful. For no one can lay any foundation other than the one we already have, Jesus Christ. And who builds on that foundation must use a variety of materials: gold, silver, jewels, wood, hay, or straw. But on the judgment day, fire will reveal what kind of work each builder has done. The fire will show if a person's work has any value. If the work survives, that builder will receive a reward. But if that work is burned up, the builder will suffer a great loss. The builder will be saved, but like someone barely escaping through a wall of flames. Don't you realize that all of you together are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God lives in you? God will destroy anyone who destroys this temple, for God's temple is holy, and you are that temple. Stop deceiving yourselves. If you think you are wise by this world's standards, you need to become a fool to be truly wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness to God. As the scriptures say, he traps the wise in the snare of their own cleverness. And again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise. He knows they are worthless. Welcome back. So don't boast about following a particular human leader, for everything belongs to you, whether Paul or Apollos or Peter, or the world or life and death, or the present and the future. Everything belongs to you, and you belong to Christ, and Christ belongs to God. And now Psalms 29, 1 through 11. I think I'm going to come back to this verse. I'm going to mark this verse here. I want to come back to this verse. I'm going to mark this page, and I'm going to mark this verse. I want to come back to this verse. 1 Corinthians 3, 5 through 23 if you want to mark it for yourself. But I'm going to mark this entire verse because I want to come back to read this whole thing. I think there's some wisdom in here that I might need to read a couple times. Whoa. But let's hop into Psalms, and also welcome back, Alicia. Now Psalms 29, 1 through 11. Honor the Lord, you heavenly beings. Honor the Lord for his glory and his strength. Honor the Lord for the glory of his name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. The voice of the Lord echoes above the sea, and the God of glory thunders. The Lord thunders over a mighty sea, and the voice of the Lord itself is powerful. The voice of the Lord is majestic. The voice of the Lord splits the mighty cedars. The Lord shatters the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon's mountain skip like a calf. He makes Mount Hermon leap like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord strikes with lightning bolts. The voice of the Lord makes the barren wilderness quake. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists mighty oaks and strips the forests bare. In his temple everyone shouts, glory. The Lord rules over the flow waters, and the Lord reigns as king forever. The Lord gives his people strength, and the Lord blesses them with peace. On. Well, the only thing we can do, right, is to, appreciate the fact that he was here, appreciate his memories, and pray for him having a peaceful return, peaceful return home. I know that's something hard. I don't want to make that seem like it's a small thing. But I hope you just remember him for, being your granddad and the good memories and stuff. And now Proverbs 20:26 to 27. A wise king scatters the wicked like wheat, then runs his threshing wheel over them. The Lord's light penetrates the human spirit, exposing every hidden motive. And now the holy temple of the living God. I hope you're doing okay. I'll send you a prayer for some peace, And now the holy temple of the living God. In the Old Testament, there is a lot of conflict surrounding the construction of the temple, where grand furnishings will testify to God's glory. To God's glory. In the New Testament, we learn that believers are now the temple of the Holy Spirit. Can you imagine pornography placed on the walls of a temple or church? What a horror for a holy place. Yet even though we are now the temple, we plaster the walls of our minds with inappropriate images and pornography. Whatever needs to be cleaned out of our temples, let's do it today. In chat, I'm going to turn off this camera really quickly, turn off my mic, and ask for clarity, wisdom, discernment on today's word, and I'll be right back.
So we go to Rome. The whole time I think that my boyfriend's going to propose.
And I knew he wasn't. It was basically the most unromantic, romantic trip.
Welcome back. Hmm? Welcome back. Okay, so let's go over today's word really quickly. Um, it's pretty funny. I'm right. I'm right here. I'm right here. Right here. I'm right here. Let's go over today's word so quickly. So today we talked about Ezra 4:24 through 6. Um, and today from Ezra, we saw um, this message from the days read from Ezra today, right, chat? And it was about how just because someone who may have a higher standing, perceived higher standing, may come against you, um, it doesn't really mean too much, right? Um, it truthfully doesn't mean too much. If they're not backed by God and you are, it truly doesn't mean too much at all whatsoever. And we saw this with the people west of the Euphrates River. They tried to get them to stop building their walls, but their kingdom, the temple, was already previously ordained and written down in history to be built up. And it was declared that no one shall come against the building of that temple. So even though a perceived enemy had tried to come against them at the time, it didn't work, right? And this perceived enemy had a perceived power in this area at the time, and it still meant nothing. Facts. And as long as you got God on your side, there is nothing any perceived enemy of any sorts would be able to do. You know. And let's do our best to remember that. And now let's hop into 1 Corinthians 3:5 through 23. So we in Corinthians today, this is why I circled this verse today. Corinthians 1 3:5 through 23. Excuse me.
Universal Technical Institute's diesel program provides hands-on training needed.
There's a lot of ads in this video.
Engines.
I like the music though, but the ads are crazy. It's like the 4th, 5th ad already. But in 1 Corinthians 3:5 through 23, we're talking about the temple, right? And this previous verse in Ezra, we're talking about the rebuilding of that temple, and it happened to be a physical house-like structure, right? But this temple that we're talking about in 1 Corinthians is you. You are the temple, right? If you got a highlighter, a pen, or anything, you can write on your hand right now, God lives here, right? Right? If you have a pencil, a pen, a highlighter, or anything, right, you can write down on your hand right now. I'm gonna write it on mine. Maybe I should get a better pen. I'll get a better pen. This pen has been out this whole time. Got a better pen. Here we go. God lives here, you know. God lives here, right? And this is the temple we're talking about in 1 Corinthians 3:5 to 23. You are the temple now. We've been made aware of the fact that now we are the temple. And if God lives in your temple, how would God want you to treat that temple? And how would you treat that temple knowing that God is in there with you? You know, would you then change your perception of how things are supposed to work out if you know God is right here with you at all times? Because you are the temple. honestly, truthfully, I sat here for a moment and I thought about this very specifically. Um, and it truthfully brought me some peace. It truthfully brought me some peace. Um, what's up, David? Welcome to the chat, bro. Good to see you again. But truthfully, it brought me some peace. You know, God lives here. The temple that they're talking about today in Ezra, also in Corinthians, we are that temple we're talking about now. You are the temple now. And so all the things we'd be filling ourselves up with on a daily basis, God is also being filled up with those things too. So what would you want to fill yourself up with now in the future? Now that you know God is with you at all times. And you know, hope you remember that next time you think anything, you know, crazy about yourself, right? You know, when I say crazy, I mean thinking you're something less than amazing. But next time you think about yourself as something less than amazing, I want you to remember that God is right there with you right now, inside with you in your temple right now. And God wouldn't go nowhere that wasn't amazing. You see how lavish the temple was that they built? It was layers on layers on layers. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And there's layers and layers and layers of fine things in the temple of God. So that, I mean, you must be made of the finest things ever. If the other temple of God was one of the finest things ever. And now let's hop into Proverbs 20:26 through 27. A wise king scatters the wicked like wheat, then runs his threshing wheel over them. The Lord's light penetrates the human spirit, exposing every hidden motive. And this is, you know, to remind you, if you haven't really gone over this, right, there's nothing you can hide from God, right? If God is in the temple with you and God sees everything you do, anyways, then truthfully, obviously, there's nothing you can hide, right? You could jump so high, that's crazy. I got pretty good bounce too. I'm like almost a dunker now, you know. I'm almost a dunker now, you know. So I feel you. So it's just getting back to it, but you know, there's nothing you can truly hide, right? So, how about not? I'm not saying you gotta go tell every random person you meet all your business. I'm saying when you're building your relationship with God and talking to God more often, just remember that keep it hot. God already knows the truth. So next time you're talking to God about something that you want to talk to God about, just tell the truth and keep it hot. Tell the 100% truth, because God already knows the truth. He's right there with you, and every door you open, every step you take, He's right there with you, right? So He's in the temple, so He's in the temple with you, right? You know, and just, you know, might as well just tell the truth. Might as well just tell the truth. Hope you guys have a great and wonderful rest of your day. This has been the end of today's 1 year Bible read. And 11, 12. 11 or 12, Alicia. Oh man, it's funny. And if you've never seen this outro before, here we go. We all have that limitless core, baby. I appreciate you. I might even love you, but I'm for sure glad you woke up today. Thank you for joining me for another day on the 1 year Bible read, day 219 in a row, chat. I'm truly grateful for your presence as always, whether it's for a minute, a second, a millisecond, or if you've been with me for a while now. I truly do appreciate it, and I never take it for granted. Hope you have a great rest of your day, because I'm going to have a great rest of mine. And peace. I'm going to see you next time.
old phone? Nah. Upgrade to the new